Okay, this is part two of Beating the FBI. If you have not heard part one, you may want to listen to that first so that it can all make sense. Okay, so forgive me if I'm redundant and going back over what we already covered in part one, but I believe we need to start at learning the basics. Okay, so again, forgive me if I already read this, but I'm going to go over it again. Okay, so multi-layered teams. Okay, remember the multi-layered teams were considered the most deadly strategy. Okay, the FBI's deployment strategy is insidious and conniving, yet brilliant. Because the manner in which FBI agents are deployed, it is almost impossible to catch the FBI unawares during a surveillance operation. They always have a fallback position. This is called the strategy of surveillance in debt. Here's how it works. For most surveillance operations, the FBI actually puts two teams in the field. Okay, so you think it's just, this one person or two people. No, these people are very organized, you guys. That's why I stopped calling it gang stalking. I started calling it organized stalking because I noticed, even before I saw this document years ago, I noticed how structured and organized this was. And that's what led me to believe that it had to be government, because who else could organize and have all these resources like this? Okay, um, so they have two teams in the field, and the first team is expendable. That means if it's blown, and then that's spy talk for detected. So if you notice them, okay, the surveillance operation will still survive and they'll still reach their objective. So whatever their plan is for you for the day, that's another thing. They usually have an objective. Okay, we want to try to make her commit suicide. We want to try to make her go off on this perp that we're going to put in front of her. We want to try to make her decide not to go wherever she was going or he was going. Okay, just say you're going over to your friend house. We want to put this team out there to do these tactics so that this person won't want to go wherever they're going. Okay, so the surveillance operation will still survive and is going to reach its objective because they have two teams out there. The first team is called the Decoy and Diversion Team. Okay, so for the purposes of moving forward with this document, we're just going to call it the Decoy Team. Okay, but it's really called the Decoy and Diversion Team. In surveillance operations involving hard targets, the Decoy Team expects to get caught. In surveillance operations involving soft targets, they expect to remain undetected in 75% of all cases. Okay, and a soft target is described as a person who has no counter surveillance skills or training and is not on the lookout for surveillance. And we all were soft targets at one time because we didn't always know that we were under surveillance. So we were just living life. We weren't looking around to see if anybody's following us, and we weren't aware of the targeted individual program or any of this. So we were all soft targets at one time, but we all want to become hard targets as quickly as possible. Okay, so the role of this decoy team is, they expect that you're going to see them, that most people are going to see them. Because most people, if you've been targeted for any length of time, you're going to be a hard target. You know the tactics, you know how they target you, you know, and you can see them a mile away most of the time. So these people, they want you to see them, okay? But they said the soft targets may not necessarily see them. Okay. Any target who is alert and on the lookout for surveillance will eventually detect a pavement artist of the decoy team. Pavement artist is spy talk for a member of a surveillance team that is watching you in public places. They are on foot and they are in vehicles. Now, I call these boots on the ground. Anybody who gets the stalking, you get the boots on the ground. You get them on, as they say here, that they're on foot and they're in vehicles. They're also on bicycles. They're on skateboards. They're on skates. They are in trucks. They're in cars. It feels like everywhere. They're in the stores. They're at the mall. They're in your neighborhood. They're at your church. They are literally everywhere. Okay. Those are the pavement artists, and they are from the team called the Decoy Team. Okay. Now, at the same time that the Decoy Team enters the situation and begins surveillance on you, a second team also enters the game. This second team quietly slips into the environment where it does its best to blend in with the background. The second team is called the Stealth Team. At the beginning of the operation, the Stealth Team makes no effort to watch you. Its only objective is to establish its presence and to remain undetected. Okay, so while they have your attention with these boots on the ground, the pavement artists, okay, while they have you watching them watching you, this other team, the stealth team, they have snuck into the environment. And I believe that this is when you see the boots on the ground giving these hand signals and these gestures to someone. They are probably giving these hand signals and gestures to the stealth team. Maybe. Just my guess. Um, but there's more than one team on you. Okay, and you probably have noticed that there's a lot of people on you. Okay, these people are extremely organized, you guys. They're in teams. There's levels to this stuff. Okay, this deployment strategy is incredibly effective, and here's why. The first team provides cover for the second team's arrival. Even a hard target is likely to be too busy watching the first team, that's what I just said, to notice the arrival of the second team. And when both teams are in place, you usually only notice the first team. See, because they have all your attention. They have all your attention. Okay? That first set of perps have all your attention, so you don't even notice the other set is there. But have you ever been in a situation where you're like, it just feels like they come out of nowhere? Well, they really haven't come out of nowhere. That second team, that stealth team, they came at the same time the decoy team came. But they just kind of slipped in. See, and then they take over if they need to. Okay, the top priority of the first team or the decoy team is to see everything you do. Okay, so when you encounter one of those perps that have you under the microscope and they're watching everything you do, then they are from the decoy team. Okay, they want you to learn. They want to learn your habits and your daily routine. They don't want to be detected, of course, but they are prepared to pay that price if that's what is required in order to make sure they see absolutely everything you are doing. Their first priority is to acquire as much data about you as possible. And because people's habits change and things, you might say to yourself, well, I've been targeted for 10 years or 15 years. Why do they still need to know everything I'm doing? That's because our habits change, and the more we become sensitized and aware of this stuff happening to us, then, we might switch up our routine or something. So they just watch everything. They watch everything. And plus, they want to continue to traumatize you and sensitize you. That's another reason. Okay. And here's a question that has come in my mind a couple of times. Like, sometimes I wonder, like, do they really want you to notice them? Or do they not? And now I've learned by reading this that that they're actually in teams, number one, but there are part of this operation that wants you to notice them, and then the other part that doesn't. But their main job is to continue to gather information because remember, their whole point is to set you up. And as I said before, the FBI will wait you out for years and years and years, which is really a shame because TIs haven't done anything to deserve this. But this is what they do. And I truly believe that the FBI is behind this, and that's why I'm sharing this because this really resonated with me. As I can see this same type of structure in my targeting. Now, I don't know if it is the FBI per se or if they have trained the perps to do whatever they're doing because this structure seems like the same structure that I deal with in my day-to-day targeting. Okay. If you do not detect the decoy team, and if they realize you've spotted them, if you do detect the decoy team, and if they realize you spotted them, the decoy team simply suspends its operation. They realize that you'll notice their departure. In fact, they're counting on it. They also realize that very few people will realize that a second team has blended into the background. So when you let those perps know I see you, maybe you say something, you confront them, or you just, your body language lets them know. Then you may see them leave the store, or leave the building, or leave your neighborhood, or drive off, or ride off on their bike. But don't think that you're not still being watched, because that second team has blended into the background and now they take over. Okay, and they step in and they continue to surveil you. The second team, the stealth team, doesn't need to see everything you do. They have been briefed by the first team. Okay, so just know that they definitely do take notes. The stealth team only needs to watch you during certain times and at certain locations where they think you might be up to something. The top priority of the stealth team is to remain undetected, and they are prepared to leave. They are prepared to leave you unwatched for brief periods in order to retain their invisibility. This is called picket surveillance by the FBI, named after the gaps in a picket fence. Okay, so they'll leave. The stealth team, they'll leave, and nobody's watching you. And I think we all have those moments where we feel like, oh, thank God, finally some peace. Nobody's watching me. Okay. This two-stage approach to major surveillance operation is brutally effective. It has led to the ruin of many people who thought they could outfox the FBI. So basically, they're leaving you on watch for a while. Basically, what they're doing is giving you rope to hang yourself, but you're still being watched, but you think you're not. Okay? And just remember, in this age that we're in now, surveillance cameras and all these snitches everywhere, we should know that someone is going to see whatever you do anyway. Okay, so don't get that comfortable to think that you could, do whatever you do, because they're watching, but they want you to think that they're gone. Okay, the undercover agents of the stealth team uses methods that are more sophisticated than those used by the decoy team. These methods are called tradecraft. The stealth team is much more difficult to catch than the decoy team. You need to know what you're doing. It is vital that you do not let the stealth team realize that you spotted them. Now, this is counter surveillance stuff now. Okay? There's a way you can get around some of this stuff. It says it is vital that you do not let the stealth team realize that you've spotted them. Okay, so don't always be so quick to get up in the perp's face, basically, is what they're saying. Saying, yeah, I know you're following me. I know you said this about me or whatever, okay? And it says that's because the best way to beat them is by feeding them misinformation. The difference in methods used by the two teams is best explained by example. Numerous situations are described. Okay, I don't think I'm going to read that part. Okay, layered surveillance. This concept of multi-layered surveillance teams is the backbone of the FBI surveillance strategy. They almost never lead with their best team. They always hold something back so that they have a fallback position. This strategy is also carried over into the FBI's operations. When the FBI is trying to infiltrate an agent into your circle of friends, associates, co-workers, and acquaintances, they'll often use an expandable agent first. This first agent is a decoy agent meant to provide cover for the infiltration by the second agent, okay, which would be the stealth agent, would be the second agent. Okay, so now this is talking about getting people into your circle. If the first agent manages to penetrate your organization, okay, or we'll just say you, okay, because we're not talking about organization here. If the first agent manages to penetrate your organization undetected, the FBI is delighted. but if he runs into difficulty, he is withdrawn. The second agent, who has blended into the background, is brought into play. Okay, I'm going to stop again because we're a little bit over 15 minutes, and then there'll be a part 3. Okay, and we will start at why the FBI loves your lawyer in part 3.